Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are here to talk about some brand new products from ColourPop. So if that's something you're interested in watching, you're in the right place. We're about to get into it.
I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf.
Alright guys, so ColourPop has recently come out with a spring collection, and this is the first time in a long time since the I Love Sarah E launch that I've really been inspired to reach out and grab some products from ColourPop. So I did really want to take a look at a couple of the products from that specific line, in addition to some other products that ColourPop has recently launched that I haven't had an opportunity to play around with a little bit. So we'll get into those as well. First, I do want to kind of talk about the star of this collection, which is, in my opinion, the palette that launched with the spring collection. Now, one thing that separates this palette from a lot of the other ColourPop palettes is that they do promise 4 brand new to ColourPop formulas, never before seen inside of one of these little palettes. So the name of the palette is the Sweet Talk palette, and it is very spring-like in its packaging. But again, the thing that attracted me to this particular palette is the promise of 4 brand new formulas never before seen in these little type of palettes that ColourPop is kind of known for. One of their more famous versions of this little palette is the Yes Please palette. I think just about everybody out there has wanted to get their hands on that palette. It does have a beautiful layout. They have several of them that have been incredibly popular. I've had a couple of them. I haven't been overly thrilled with them, but I did get really curious about this one again because of the new formulas. So this is what it looks like outside of the unit carton. It is really super cute. It has the name of the shadows on the back, and then of course this is the layout of the inside. So it is very springy. One of the things that I thought was really neat is this is the first time we're seeing pressed glitters from ColourPop inside of this palette. So let's take a close-up look of this just so you guys can really see what this looks like close up, and I'll tell you a little bit more about these 4 new formulas. Alright, so the brand new formulas that they are claiming are in this palette is the star of the show, the brand new pressed glitters. They are saying that these are self-adhering, insanely sparkly. These babies are supposed to bring on the glam, according to ColourPop. Now, for the first time ever, there's also Super Shock Shadow pressed inside of this palette. There is also pressed powder shadow in matte and metallic finishes in this palette, and the pressed powder shadow in the matte is a new formula, and the pressed powder shadow in the metallic is also a new formula. So these are 4 new formulas inside of this little teeny tiny palette. One thing I can honestly say is that this palette in particular has performed a lot better than some of these other palettes have for me in the past. These pressed glitters genuinely are something really different and very pretty. Now, I knew ColourPop was onto something with that glitterati glitter that they had. We've talked about that before in other videos here on this channel. That glitterati is just a very special type of cosmetic glitter. The way that it goes on, it dries down, it doesn't budge until you take it off, and then you can take it off with something as simple as a makeup wipe and it doesn't make a mess everywhere. It was just a really good formula, and I really feel like they kind of built off of that for the pressed glitters that are inside of this particular palette. Let's get into some swatches so that you can actually see what I'm talking about when it comes to these glitters in particular, but then let's also take a look at some swatches of the mattes and the metallics and that Super Shock shadow that's in this palette. Alright guys, so the very first swatch here is Catch Me. It's a matte pastel peach, which is a beautiful color. The next one is Side to Side. This is the actual Super Shock shadow that's in the palette. It's like a warm champagne that has silver and pink glitter in it, but it makes for this beautiful effect on the eye. It actually almost makes your eye almost look a little wet. I'll demo it for you here towards the end, but Super Shock Shadow is this shade here, Side to Side. Next we have Garden Date, which is just a metallic coral that has a little bit of a gold sheen to it. Then we have Work It, which is a soft matte yellow orangey type of color. Next up we have Prima Drama, which is a pale rose gold glitter, and it has copper and a gold kind of duochrome shift in there to it. So this is obviously one of the pressed glitters, but you can really see that rose gold glitter in there along with the gold that has a little bit of a kind of a duochrome shift effect in there. It's a really unique pressed glitter, and it's really, really pretty. I do love the sparkle of it, and the chunks in that glitter are a little bigger particle-wise. Alright, next up we have Meadow, which is a matte, it's a true coral. It's a basic coral color. It's really pretty. Next up is Early Morning. Now this is kind of a marigold color type of glitter. This is the other pressed glitter in here. The glitter here is not, the particles aren't as big, they are very fine, but it does make for a stunning effect on the eye. And it is this really bright marigold yellow kind of gold. It's very, very pretty. Next up we have Dream Maker, and this is more of a soft coral. It's also a matte. Then we have ICYMI, which is a terracotta, but it's also a matte. And then we have Melody. This is really pretty. It's just a metallic rose, but it has a gold flip to it, and I love that. Then we have West Side, which is a matte camel brown color. This is very pretty. One of my favorite colors. And then we have Feel Free, which is more of a really rich wine Bordeaux kind of color. So overall, this is the entire palette laid out. It's a beautiful layout altogether, and the mattes in this are so opaque. I love the matte formula in this palette. The Super Shock Shadow is really cool, and these pressed glitters are stunning. Even just the regular metallics have really unique features to them, like that gold flip that is in Melody. It's just overall a really unique palette with really unique formulas that have really unique features, and I think it makes for a really, really pretty color story. So for such a little palette, this one actually really packs a punch. A couple of things about this palette overall. You have to be super gentle with this palette, especially the Super Shock Shadow. It does shift around a lot in this little pan, as do Prima Drama and Early Morning, the two pressed glitters. Both of these are very fragile inside of this palette, so just make sure that you're conscious of that as you use it. Other than that, the mattes perform beautifully. The duochrome is stunning. This Garden Date metallic is beautiful. This is a really nice 12-pan palette, and it's only $18, and you get a wide range of different kinds of finishes inside of this palette, and I think that that is stunning. I think this is a great idea from ColourPop. I love the wide variety of formula all wrapped up into one palette. They've made it incredibly affordable at $18, and I think the new formula idea in this is a great idea, and I hope that they carry that going forward throughout their palettes. I think that the innovation that comes from including different formulas, brand new formulas, even putting Super Shock shadows inside some of their pressed eyeshadow palettes is a great idea and something different. I mean, how many times can you kind of reinvent yourself when it comes to ColourPop? There's just so many Super Shock shadows that you can make, so many of these same little palettes that you can make. There's only so many colors in the spectrum, but I think they managed to really do something different with this palette, and I think that's a good outline going forward, just to keep things different and new and exciting. So I really like this palette. I definitely recommend this to you guys. This is absolutely Erica approved. It's absolutely beautiful. Next up, I do want to talk about their Super Shock Cheeks. Now, this one is also from the spring collection. This is Count Me In. Now, this is a matte blush because I prefer matte blushes, just because, again, I have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles on my cheeks, and the less shimmer I get, the better, because I don't want to draw attention to the texture that I do have on my face. So it's a really pretty pink, very springtimey kind of color. I do think it is quite stunning. Now, the thing about these Super Shock blushes, so when you touch them, you immediately feel that it's a wet formula. This is a very different formula when it comes to blush application, and there is a very specific way that you're supposed to work with the Super Shock formula. So their recommendation for the Super Shock formula is to use a flat synthetic brush or a duo fiber brush. So when they talk about a flat synthetic, they're usually talking about something like a flat synthetic brush head. I don't like this for blush application. They do say that this will give you more coverage, whereas the duo fiber will give you more of an airbrushed look, and I agree with that. A duo fiber brush, whereas it's very dense down here, and then you have these really sparse synthetic fibers up here at the top. This is going to give you more of a traditional blush application like what we're used to. If you want something a little more dense as opposed to a flat synthetic, I would still stick synthetic, but I would go with something that was still flat and dense, but maybe a little thicker, something that had a little bit more of a full body to it, like this. This will really amp up the coverage and also give you some blending capability. This is actually a cream foundation brush from ColourPop and was made specifically to work with cream products, which at the end of the day, that's what the Super Shock shadows are. They are a very unique and a very different cream formula. And of course, like any other cream formula, you can also just simply put your finger in it and just tap it out over top of your foundation, and it will give you a very pretty flush of color. The one thing that I don't like about that application technique is the inability to really blend and control your application. So I personally do prefer working with a thicker cream product brush or a duo fiber for a really light amount of coverage. But either way, once you get it down the way to use these, they really are beautiful blushes. They also have this ability to last really, really long. So oftentimes when it comes to our blush, that's the first thing to go throughout the course of the day. For whatever reason, one reason or another, all of us will lose our blush usually first before anything else wears off, and that is not the case with these blushes. These are incredibly long lasting. They look beautiful on the skin. They have a wide range of colors to choose from, and I love that matte is an option. Another thing that I really like about this blush formula is that it does have dimethicone in this as well, which all smoothing primers out there also include, in addition to foundations that have smoothing properties to them. And the dimethicone in this formula acts the same way. So if you have fine lines and wrinkles, or if you have any texture, even larger pores on your cheeks, the dimethicone in this formula really helps to just kind of smooth that surface out and give you this really soft, smooth look underneath the blush itself. So overall, the Super Shock blush for me is also a win. This specific color, which is Count Me In, this is the color that launched with the spring line. It's one of the blushes. I really like this color. I think it's beautiful, and I think it pairs perfectly with the colors in the palette. Next up, I do want to talk about their Super Shock highlighters. This highlighter is in the color Wisp. Again, a very wet product. It is gorgeous, though. It is absolutely stunning. I mean, come on now. That is one of the more prettier highlights that I have ever used. The reflect in this formula is absolutely gorgeous. However, it is a bit of a nightmare to work with. Now, they do recommend that fingertip application with this is the best. If you're going to do that, my recommendation would be to do that after you've applied your foundation, but before you've set it with powder. And then when you set your face, just kind of avoid that area, because when you set over top of a highlighter with powder, it really dulls it down. Just kind of leave that area unset with powder. I have fought with this formula over top of powder. So if you set your face and then you go in with this, I have seen it start to kind of bunch up and want to lay funny and not really look the best. So especially with a fingertip application. Now, I have had better luck with a duo fiber brush, kind of just brushing it across the top and then going in very lightly and just brushing it right along here and doing light layers until I have built up the intensity that I like. Now, I will say that this formula is incredibly buildable as a highlighter goes, but there is a little bit of a learning curve with this one. You'll have to play around with it a little bit until you get the desired effect that you like. But for $8 a pop, again, if you can get it to work for you, it does look really, really pretty. And this one in particular, again, this is Wisp, and it does look really gorgeous. I actually have it on tonight, and it is a smoothing, so once you get it to work out on the face, you can see where it doesn't emphasize any kind of fine lines and wrinkles. It really does a great job at smoothing out the skin, and it looks very natural, and it really looks pretty outside in natural light as well. So I definitely love the Super Shock highlighters, but again, be prepared to work with this one for a little while until you can figure it out. Next up was something that I couldn't remember if I had tried or not, so I wanted to revisit it, and it's just their pressed powder. ColourPop came out with a whole no filter line. I've obviously tried the foundation, I've tried the concealer, and you guys can go back and read my thoughts about that. But the pressed powder was something that I couldn't remember if I had tried or not, so I wanted to revisit it. This is in the color medium. Now, this one I was a little less happy with. For whatever reason, I just feel like this is really hard pressed in the pan. There's not a lot of product that comes up from this, and it is pretty drying on the skin. The funny thing about this powder is that not only did it dry me out a little bit, but typically when a product really dries me out like that, it is either very talc heavy or it is incredibly matte. And this is talc heavy, so talc is the first ingredient in this particular formula. But it's not as matte as I expected it to be. It's very sheer. It's just sheer on the face. You actually have to kind of look a couple of times to make sure that product is coming up and applying to your face. It's that sheer. But you are putting powder on your face. So I feel like by the time you build it up to where you can actually see kind of a blurring effect, you've over applied the powder, which then leads to caking and breaking up and just not looking good. So overall, I just don't like this powder. I think I have to work too hard at it to get it to work for me. Yeah, I just think, I don't know, I think it's either too hard pressed in the pan, or it's something with the formula, or maybe they just intended it to be a super sheer powder. But either way, just not for me. This one I would skip. Next up is the Velvet Blur lipstick. Now this was attractive to me because it says Velvet Blur, and when we get a little older, our lips start to really kind of get some wrinkles in them. So this appealed to me because it says it's going to have this really creamy, velvety matte texture. It's going to give you kind of a blurred effect on the lips, and when you have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, all of those things sound really good. And I will say I was impressed with this formula. And the component is super cute too, and so is the actual lipstick. I'll show you guys what the actual lipstick itself looks like up close here. So again, this is a very unique matte lipstick. So it does create a soft focus blurring effect, but also gives you this really high impact color as well. It's a very silky, a very velvety texture. It smooths right over fine lines and imperfections, but it doesn't dry out your lips. So even though it is matte, it's not drying. It has a nice blend of goji fruit, grape extract, pomegranate in it as well. It just kind of gives you this very soft, romantic look to the lips. So I do love this formula. If you go to their website, look under, I think it's called Blur Luxe. It's the Blur Luxe line, and you will find the Velvet Blur. Now this is CA Love, or California Love, and I love this color. It's absolutely stunning on, and the formula is beautiful. The only downside to this is with a typical matte liquid lipstick, I know I can put it on and get a good 8 hours of wear out of it and not have to worry about my lipstick. But the price I pay for that is that it emphasizes a lot of my fine lines and wrinkles that I have in my lips. This doesn't last as long as I would like for it to last. It's going to be good for you for a good 2-3 hours, but then you are going to have to reapply this. So this is definitely going to have to be a lipstick that you toss in your purse and take with you on the go. But as it goes, most bullet lipsticks are that way. At the end of the day, it's a beautiful formula. It's absolutely worth the price, and this one I absolutely approve. Last but not least, I want to talk about 2 of their brand new eye products. The first one is their new liquid liner from ColourPop. This actually really impressed me, and I didn't think I was going to be very impressed with this one. Number one, I really like the tip of this. Even though it's a standard felt tip applicator, it has enough firmness to it that you have a lot of control when you're applying this from an eyeliner perspective, number one. Number two, this dries down matte, and I love a black matte eyeliner. Number three, it is jet black, so it's incredibly dark, and I love that about this formula. And number four, it's really, really long lasting. So definitely use like an eye makeup remover that you would use to take your like waterproof mascara off. That's what you would use to take this off, and then it does come off really easily with like an oil-based remover. But this goes on, it's going to stay put. It's incredibly pigmented. It's a great formula. This is a really good eyeliner. I was shocked. I didn't think I was going to be as impressed with their liquid eyeliner as I am, but I am. This is a really good eyeliner, you guys. So if you haven't checked it out, absolutely give this one a shot. If you're looking for a new eyeliner, this one's great. I've actually had this one for a little while, and they last a really long time too. So it's not one that dries out super easy on you either. And yeah, really good pigment. I love the way it dries down. It just has a beautiful finish to it. This is a really good formula. And the best part about this eyeliner, it's called the BFF eyeliner, and this comes in like a bazillion different colors. Like, seriously, there's like 7 different colors. There's blue, there's pink, there's green, there's yellow, there's red, there's white, there's black. There are a lot of colors to choose from, and I think that's actually really super cool. And it's a great formula, so definitely check this out, and it's only $8. You can't beat that, so great eyeliner, absolutely approved. And then last but not least is their ColourPop BFF Volumizing Mascara. Now this one, I wasn't that impressed with this mascara. Now, one thing that I will say is that this doesn't claim to be a lengthening mascara. It does claim to be a volumizing mascara. So I really can't hold the fact that it didn't do anything for my lashes when it comes to length against it, because it doesn't really claim to be a lengthening mascara. It does give you the look of a little more volume when it comes to your lashes, but just by putting product on your lashes, you're going to look like you have a little more volume. So it doesn't take a whole lot for a volumizing mascara to provide volume. So it does that. It does provide volume on the lashes. It's not as buildable as I would like it. If you do like a second coat, you start getting that weird, clumpy, spidery look. And then a couple of hours through the course of the day, you start seeing like these little black specks right here along your cheek. So for me, I think the mascara formula definitely needs some work. The actual brush itself is not bad. It looks like your typical Lash Paradise or the Too Faced one. It has that type of hourglass brush head to it. And, you know, I like that type of a brush head. However, the formula itself just leaves a lot to be desired. I think they should go back to the drawing board with the mascara formula, because I think ColourPop really has the ability to do something fantastic when it comes to mascara. Another thing that I really noticed about this is that it is really heavy, so it doesn't hold the curl very well. It actually weighs my lashes down a little bit, so the curl just falls out pretty immediately. This just wasn't my favorite, and it's a shame because they have this in as many colors as the eyeliner is available in, and I love that concept. I think it's a great idea. I just think they need to go back to the drawing board on the formula of this particular mascara. Or maybe if they were to come out with a lengthening mascara, one that maybe lengthened and provided volume, maybe that would help a little bit. But I think this formula itself is just really thick. It's really heavy. It flakes off throughout the course of the day. It's just not my favorite. Alright guys, well that is it for our rundown of the ColourPop products. Tell me what you guys think. What have you tried out lately from ColourPop? What do you guys think about the mascara? What do you guys think about their powder and their blushes? Do you guys struggle when it comes to the Super Shock highlighters? Let me know down in the comment section. I would love to hear your opinions. I love hearing back from you guys on what you guys think about product. If you guys have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out on my Instagram via DM. You can reach me at Erica Approved on Instagram. We do have a surprise. So for those of you that actually made it to the end of my video, we do have a surprise coming up this week. I think you guys are going to be super excited about it. It includes a giveaway of something pretty special. So stay tuned for that. We have that coming at you guys this week. As always, I hope you guys are very happy and very healthy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Mwah.